In this video, I'm going to give you a behind the scenes tour around my latest reel and how I filmed the 5 different sections of video that went into it. My latest reel was called 5 Creative Ideas for Where to Put the Camera. Now, the idea of this reel was to get you thinking about all the different ways that you can position your camera so that you can provide shots that are visually interesting, because if your shots are more interesting, people will watch for longer, and the longer your watch time of your video is, then the more your next piece of content will get shown to people who've then watched that video, and so on. So it helps to increase your reach, it helps to increase your engagement, and it helps to ultimately get more eyes on your content. Now, if you haven't seen my latest reel, let me put it up for you now and I can show you how it looked. So here's the first of my 5 shots. It's having the foreground in focus. The second shot was my phone in the bin. The third one was in the washing machine. The fourth one was from inside a bag. And the final one was from inside the fridge. Easy around the house shots that anyone can do. So let me show you the first one and I'll talk through how I achieved these shots. So this is my totally unedited rough footage. So you can see first of all that I have my phone is on a tripod, it's not wobbly, and it's focused here on the foreground. Now, what I have done here is use the back camera. This is the only one of these 5 video shots that uses the back camera. It's a really clear, crisp shot. I've got plenty of light on both the foreground and the background. And what I've done is use the camera's auto focus and auto exposure lock. So on most cameras, you just put your finger on the screen where you want it to focus and you hold it down and a square will come up and it will tell you that it has locked the exposure and the focus there. And that means then if anything else moves in the shot, the focus doesn't try and shift and find what's moving and go and focus on that thing. It will stay focused on wherever you have locked it. In this case, it's the pens in the foreground. And the pens is a deliberate choice. This is me here in my home office. I did try filming this to start with, looking through a plant. First of all, it didn't come out great, and that's why I didn't use it, because actually it was hard to see through. Even with the arrangement of leaves, and I tried different things, it was hard to clearly see what was happening in the background. But also I didn't then think that a plant actually represented me working at home better than the pens would do. So that's why I went for the pens in the end. And then you can see that me coming in at the background, I'm nice and out of focus, and you're simply focused on those pens at the front. I just pretended to do some work and then I came and grabbed, and that was it. That's that video done. So using the back camera on a tripod and using the auto lock and auto focus feature. Now for the rest of these shots, they are all using the front camera. So this is the one that was in the bin. Now you can see here that I'm just keep looking down because I couldn't really use the back camera. I'm just going to pause it here. I couldn't really use the back camera for this because I wouldn't have been able to see the shots that I'm getting. And that's really the compromise that I chose to make. You could use the back camera, but it would take a lot longer because you'd have to be fiddling with the autofocus, the auto exposure, the positioning. You cannot see any of that while it's happening. So I chose to compromise slightly on the quality, use the front camera, but to get the shots right in the quickest time. Now here you can see that I'm under the desk and I've put my phone in an empty bin at the very bottom. So you can see at the top and the bottom of the frame here, you can clearly see the circle outline, and if it's not already obvious that it's a bin, the action of me screwing up the paper and dropping it down under my desk should hopefully clarify that. Now I had a couple of goes at throwing the paper in the bin. I wanted to try and get it to come close to the lens, so it was coming really close down to the camera. And actually, if I was going to film this again, I'd do it in slow motion. You get a really nice shot of the rubbish coming down towards the camera if you did it in slow motion. And it's always an attractive shot at the end when you pick it up like this. So again, front camera, autofocus and auto lock, and from right there, making it clear what it's inside so that you could see the rim of the bin. Now the third shot here was from inside the washing machine. Now what I've done here is I've simply used a piece of sellotape and I've taped my phone to the back of the inside of the washing machine. Again, I'm using the front camera so that I can see what I'm doing. And if I just play this, also I've tried to frame it so that you can see as much of the actual door and the circle of the washing machine as possible. Now you do have to bear in mind, when I first put my phone, stuck it at the back, I put it in the middle. I put my phone in the middle and put it in the back. And then when I went to press record, it's then easy to think, oh, that's in the wrong place, because actually the lens of your camera is not in the middle of your phone. It's up at the top. So you need to position your phone, and I had to bring it right down so the top of my phone was what was in the middle to get that nice, more even shot. And it's a bit tricky, especially with it's not a flat surface at the back of the washing machine, but using that sellotape, and this was the best shot that I could get that did those. So if I just play this for you again, you can see the round, you can see the door, you can see through the washing machine door when I close it as well. So if you ever need to show from someone packing a washing machine, don't just think about putting the camera outside. Get that phone inside the washing machine and show the point of view from in there. Now the fourth video was inside a bag. This one took a lot longer to get, and you'll see if I just let this video play through. So I have it first of all here in a canvas bag, and my phone isn't just at the bottom, it's on a box at the bottom of the bag, because I found if I just placed my phone at the bottom of an empty bag, the sides of the bag covered it too much, you couldn't see anything. So my phone is on a box, but it did keep sliding off as well, as it took some adjusting and readjusting. Again, I'm using that front camera, and I've got the autofocus and auto lock on, because I'm really aware that I was walking underneath some windows and I didn't want the camera to suddenly go bright and then dark and be changing, so it's all locked. At this point here, I pretty much decided to swap the bag. This canvas bag was too floppy, it was just not working. So I went and got one of the bags for life that you get from the supermarket, and I simply lift my phone and the box out of the one bag and pop it right into the other. This is a much more structured bag, so I thought it would be much better. And again, you have to fiddle around with the positioning, because putting my phone in the middle of the bag was best for balance, but actually it's not best for the shot, because I wanted my lens to be under my fingers, so you could actually see me carrying the bag. It kept falling over. I had to play around with it quite a lot. But you can see that I'm getting there now. Just playing around with making sure I've got the best shot that I can. It's really obvious that it's inside a bag. And then it fell over again. A lot of patience is needed with video, so you just try again. And then what I actually decided to do, when I was happy with where it was put, is I added an extra item inside the bag, so that in my shot I could actually reach in near the phone, pull out this loaf of bread, and you'd see it coming out of the bag. So watch this happening here. So you can see, even though I'm walking underneath those lights, because I've got the auto exposure locked, it still works fine. And this was the clip of the shot that I used. So we got there in the end. And then the final video of the 5 was from inside the fridge. Now here, the phone's inside the fridge. It's totally dark because the door's shut. Let me just pause there. Now again, I'm using the front camera here, and I knew that I wanted to see the shelf and the tomatoes that were coming off the fridge. And when I put my camera in the fridge, you couldn't see this at all, because again, the lens, the actual part where you're filming, was too high. Nice, easy solution. Flip the camera upside down. So this is actually being filmed with my camera upside down, so the lens is right down there at the bottom by the shelf. You can see I also locked the exposure, I locked the focus, doesn't really matter because when the door is shut, it goes completely dark anyway. And then you can see right there at the end how bright it is because that exposure is locked. It is set the right exposure for when the door opens, because otherwise, if that exposure wasn't locked, when the fridge door opened, it would suddenly go really white while the camera is flooded with light, and then it would find the right balance. And I didn't want that to happen. So set that auto exposure and the autofocus first so that it's right, and then your shot will look fantastic. And so that's the behind the scenes of my latest reel. Simply chose the best parts of those 5 clips and edited them together. Do let me know if you have any questions about creating videos like this, or if you've got any other ideas of where you could put your camera to show an interesting point of view for your audience. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video.